Order, please. This regular meeting of the Joshua Basin Water District Board of Directors for December 6, 2023 is now in session. It's 5:31 now. Close enough. Determination of a quorum. General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Fluen,
Present.
Vice President Doolittle,
Present.
Director Fick,
Here.
Director Short,
Here.
Director Jarlsberg.
Yes, here.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum. All directors are present. There's no participation. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve
The pledge.
the pledge? Thanks, David. I mean, what I got written right here. Oh,
You're moving through it because we have a big agenda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. David's getting the hang of this.
Catching stuff.
Yeah, we determine the quorum.
I move to approve the agenda.
I second it.
10-4. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4, public comment. Designated time is for members of the public to provide comments on any district-related matters, whether appearing on the agenda or not. Under provisions of the Brown Act, the board is prohibited from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. At the discretion of the board president, however, comments on a particular agendized item may be deferred until that item is heard. Is there a public comment? Hearing none, do we have any other communications from the public, general manager?
None to my knowledge.
Thank you very much. Public comment time is now closed. Consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the board at any one time, without discussion. If a board member would like an item handled separately, it will be removed from the consent calendar for a separate action. We have today draft meeting minutes. Board meeting of November 15, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the draft minutes? Please.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. I'm doing this too fast. There is no item 6. Project list update. This item is for informational purposes only. Staff may provide updates to the board on any projects listed. Board members may ask questions and seek clarification on any project listed. If board action is necessary on any project, it will be scheduled for a future agenda item. General Manager Johnson, please.
Thank you. This is a newer item to our agenda. We plan to bring this to the board on the first board meeting of each month. Unless the board meeting is packed, then we'll skip it. This list is back up on the screen for your viewing pleasure. Tonight, I'll go through each of these items briefly, and then in the future, I will solicit any board questions and give any updates for the individual projects. If you look on the screen, you'll see the color coding. The yellow is anything that's in progress. The pink is anything that's in queue, so that means it's slated and waiting. And the turquoise color is anything that's complete. First project, we have this sorted by admin first, and then CIRP, finance, and then operations. First project on the list is the hazard mitigation plan. That's in progress. We have our next meeting scheduled for December 18th. It's moving along pretty swiftly, and I think we should have a good outcome on that project. The next is new emergency supplies. We have purchased some of those supplies. We still have a few in queue. File server replacement is also in progress and scheduled to be on site in January. The website redesign you've heard a lot about in the past already. We were hoping to have it deployed in December, but one of the things I remember during my evaluation is the board had asked that the CAC review it before it's deployed. So since we had a CAC delay this year, we weren't able to do that. But now that we have the CAC back up and running, we're going to bring it to them in January. So we'll probably deploy late January after we get their feedback of the website. The next is keyless entry. That is to get rid of all of those hard keys and do keyless entry into this building and into operations. That's in queue for next year. Codification of records. That's putting all of our records online in a searchable format through a program. We have begun demoing some of those programs, but that's due for next year. So we're very beginning process of getting that project kicked off, and that will be our admin code, our rules and regulations, employee handbook, et cetera. So one-stop shop to find all the district policies. The next is strategic plan, which I know is of importance to the board. I've already been researching some potential facilitators and hope to get that one kicked off at the beginning of next year in regards to finding a facilitator. Next one is bill redesign. So you've probably seen our bill. I know a lot of you have made suggestions and corrections. The bill has mostly been redesigned. We're working with InfoSend on that currently and hope to have that project done by end of fiscal year. And it's a lot more comprehensive than one would believe. There's a lot of moving parts on that one. Exterior building refresh, that's the painting of this building. We did discover that we don't have to do re-roofing, so that's good. So it's in queue, but we started on it. It's been on pause, but we hope to get that unpaused and get that finished by end of fiscal year as well. Capital improvement plan update. One thing I didn't mention, these projects in the project list, unless otherwise noted, are budget funded. But I don't want you to think that this is all inclusive. There are a lot of projects that are operational projects happen day to day that are not included on this list. So this is everything in addition to what we already do. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. Capital improvement plan update, that's getting all of our capital assets lined out and then put in a format that helps us choose which is the next item to tackle in regards to updating it and rehabbing it. So that's in queue for next year. Tilford 2 design and survey, that project's complete. And then the one right below it, the installation actually just completed on 10/12. We're really excited about that one. The Belmont design survey is complete. And for next fiscal year, we'll start that pipeline installation. And we have already begun the next line down, the inventory pre-order. We've received most of those materials, but we still have a couple items in queue. Payroll software conversion from Paylocity to Paychex is in full swing. Autumn's having a blast doing it. We hope that we should be finished by the end of January or so. Fingers crossed. Assets tracking software is a new program. Ann's been one kicking that off. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. It's one of the projects that could be put on pause should we have to take on another project. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But that project will help us keep track of our assets in the 60-year history of the district. We haven't had a solid asset tracking program, and this is something really of utmost importance to us. So I want to make sure that we're doing a good job with that. Next project on the list is two-way radios. All of those radios have been purchased and have been either installed or assigned or put into strategic places within the district so that we can contact each other should we have a cell phone failure or some sort of an emergency. That Hurricane Hillary gave us the opportunity to practice on those, so that was good. The next is our 4 replacement trucks, and we have received all of those trucks. Also the vacuum excavator, and I'll skip down the tire changer replacement and concrete mixer. All projects are complete. Next one after that is the D1 booster station upgrade. And we're very excited because today we got the building delivered. So that has been, I think, is it almost a year that we've been waiting for that building? It was a big deal. So it got delivered on 2 big trucks and got installed. And anything else you want to add?
No, we installed and got that step and phase is done, and we'll move on to aligning all the pipes. go into service.
So we should be done with that, maybe close to year end.
Yes, year-end.
Year end. So another giant project getting ready to complete. P21 reservoir upgrade. So we have the site level and we're working on the RFP for the next step. And that's a big project, but also in progress. Meter replacement programs project has been going on for several years already. We have about 1,900 left to replace in the district. So that's moving along quite nicely. The MIOX, so that's the chlorination at well 14. That is currently in design and we're making a lot of progress on that. It was on hold for a while. So we're excited that one's getting going.
On that, unless you drove past already, on this well 14 one, we have the name Nazario on there. I'm calling, maybe we have two of those. And over here on the other side, we have Jeremiah. And maybe we should make Nazario Jeremiah.
The same person. And on that whole line, it's referring both of those to Jeremiah, but it is a good point. I'll make that clarification. The next is the AMI meter conversion propagation study. We don't know why it's called propagation study. That is the name that they told us. That one is in full. So we don't have it complete. The study complete by the end of January. We'll bring a report to the board with all of that exciting AMI information. The next is the inventory equipment building. I know my buildings are so hard, but they just really are. We are in the permitting process still, but we are making a snail's pace progress, but there is progress being made. The next is the Kensington auto gates. All the gates have been installed and now we just need the apparatuses that actually operate the gates to be installed. I think they were just ordered.
Yep.
So we should have that done, I believe, also by year's end. And last is the recharge purchase, and we are very close to being finished with this year's recharge. We have 120 acre feet left, and I think it will be finished. I know I put on here a calendar year, but I think it'll be the first week of January. That update was taken today. So I'm happy to take any questions on this project list, and this is the first iteration. I hope this will make things more clear, so when we go through that budgeting process in the beginning of the year, that we can remember what the things that we budgeted for and see progress that through the rest of the fiscal year of these items getting completed.
Thank you very much. Have any questions or clarifications, Vice
Yes, I
President?
do. Thank you. Thank you for preparing this. I know it's not easy to get all this stuff down like this, but was this, is this an extract from a bigger document or an export? Or is this some new Excel?
Brand new spreadsheet.
Okay, all right. So I wanted to ask you, so a couple of things. One is it's nice if these are numbered, the rows are numbered, that'll make it easier for us to refer to things. But on the first page, all the way down, the bill redesign, modernized bill design, a best practice with usability, how user-friendly is to have the actual users test it. And so I don't know if you're going to go to the CAC or somebody like that, it'd be
Generally, it would be, yeah, CAC, and then we'll,
Kathleen could do it at the farmer's market, have an example there. Who knows?
thank you.
Okay. And then on the second page regarding the two-way radios, I can't remember if I ever asked this, but we do have, how many would this be? How many phones? And we do have satellite phones. I'm just wondering, about how those two things compare.
We have 2 satellite phones.
Yes.
And how many radios?
Mixed in with the old, about 27.
27.
Wow, whoa, okay. Well, I'm sure it's important for disasters and all kinds of stuff. So that's great. Appreciate that we're moving ahead on that. Just in general regarding this list, usually when you have a project list, you usually have something related to a date. You mentioned dates on it, but it was very surprising to me that there's no dates on here. So I also, understand that, things are in flux a lot, but you have to have a date so that you can, have a target even if you miss it. So I don't know if we want to just, this is going to be shared with the public and stuff, and not to confuse anybody with dates changing and stuff. If we just want to put a quarter as a target, you know what I mean? Q1 2023, as opposed to an exact date. So that's my contributions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Jarlsberg?
Yeah, it looks good. I was gonna try to print this out in color at home, but it went off the page. So I appreciate this, but I understand saving money for color ink. But I'd like to have it in color.
The problem, I mean, we would be happy to print you a color copy. The colors will change every meeting because as they get completed, they'll get a new color.
Okay, but the colors mean something. That was whether they're in the same place or not, I don't, that's fine, but.
Yeah, we can do that. And the colors only refer to the status at the second to the furthest column.
Yeah,
over.
I got
So
that.
that's all that. So the same information is there, even if it's printed in black and white, but I prefer the color too. I understand.
Yeah, it's just that I tried to print it at home. I'm happy to print it at home, but it was like off, so it was too big. The two-way radios are all in vehicles? They're not handheld?
We have a combination.
Oh, okay. Okay, what's that mean? He's nodding his head.
I'm agreeing with her. We have several.
You have handheld and attached to the dash in the
Yeah,
vehicle?
several vehicles are outfitted with
Yeah.
stationary radios, and we have a lot of handhelds.
Yeah, okay. And they all add up to about almost 30, it sounds like.
Almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they come in handy for sure. The other thing, a meter replacement program is wonderful. It's been going on for a while, and I'm wondering how many total meters are there? You said there's 1,900 left to install, but how many? Oh,
About 5,600 total.
5,600. So that's, like a fifth of it is left or fourth is left. Okay. 56, did you say?
5,600 total,
Yeah,
and about 1,900 left.
because people ask us how, when we're out and about, how big this place is, and I keep forgetting the numbers, so I've got to start writing them down so I can give them information. I could say 5,600 customers or just meters?
Meters. So, well.
How do they relate to
they are
customers?
Some are inactive, which in some are
Right.
active.
Right.
But if you're talking about sheer size, I think the thing that shocks people is that we're 96 square miles and that's 5,600 are spread out over that amount of area, in addition to the 300 miles of pipeline. And if you use President Lowen's analogy of here
That is
to
helped me remember a lot.
to South Utah,
Yeah. Okay,
so 34% left to do.
oh, okay, cool. Let's see, I think that was the ones that jumped out at me. Thank you. That's it.
Director Short?
Yeah, just real quick, do we have an estimate when we're gonna break ground on the Belmont project?
That should be next fiscal year,
I got
depending on, budget approval, of course.
Director Fick? Why would the software, the payroll software, why is it going from one to the other?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
The payroll software change? You're going from one payroll to another?
Oh, we were experiencing quite a few issues with Paylocity. One of which is they didn't pay our employers' taxes appropriately. And that's a huge deal breaker.
Mhm.
So they're not fulfilling their contract, and Paychex is a reputable company and they have their own, every company is not perfect. Every tech has its issues, but we've been with Paychex before. We didn't experience that issue. We had some issues that we didn't like with its functionality, but they've updated since we left them. We think they're gonna be able to serve the purposes that we're looking for now.
Okay, now another question, on these two-way radio systems, are they independent on satellites or anything, or just with all each other?
Just with each other.
Yeah, we have a radio tower on Paxton Peak that we have licenses through, and that's what we use. So
Okay,
no one else can hear us.
that was my question. Was Paxton Peak in Yucca Valley?
Yes, it is.
Oh darn, okay. And then another question would be, what is the cost per acre foot right now when you're doing the
623.
23? Okay. That's about it for me.
Very good. And I will say, just as a side note, it's kind of expensive. I didn't realize, because of our distance away from where we get our water, why it's expensive to transport water. But a lot of the agencies that are in Central California that bring water in. It's hundreds of dollars per acre foot, not the 600. I didn't realize that before, but I thought that was just interesting note.
Okay, I was also gonna add, the 96 square miles, that's what the county did when they wanted to figure out build out for Joshua Tree. They just said 1,000 people per square mile. So the build out for Joshua Tree was going to be 96,000 people.
Mm.
Oh.
But Kurt Sauer gave the consultants, when they were talking to each other, I think 2018 or so, he told them realistically, the water district could service about 35,000 people max back then. So if they've upgraded the general plan since then, that should be, that's what the figure should be, is 35,000 people.
Wow.
And we're what, 8,000 now?
Depends on what number you look at.
Yeah, that's the other
Always
thing.
Discrepancy. And
86
anywhere
or
between
so.
7,400 and 10,000 is what I see.
I think Dave's done.
I'm done.
On, at the very top of page 2, in the project description, it says implement assets tracking software to track assists. Is it supposed to say assists or assets?
Assets. Thank you.
Yeah, it's trivia.
Oh, yeah.
Trivia. And these fiscal year costs on here, they're, I assume, in varying stages of payment.
Yes,
Yeah, so, yeah.
this is what's in the budget.
But the ones that are completed, I forget, is that the yellow one? Black and white too. Are they all paid off, the ones that are completed, or are we still
Not
paying?
necessarily. Sometimes the projects are completed before we receive all of the final invoicing for the project. So it would depend on the project.
Yeah.
Usually there's a lag between when the project ends and the invoicing ends.
But it's a ballpark kind of thing as to where the money is, if Leif has it, or if it's in our local bank or in the cash drawer.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
That's a useful thing.
Yeah.
It's a good tool. Let it go. The action calendar now, I think, is where we're up to. Item number 9, public outreach contract. Sarah Johnson, General Manager.
I think
Actually, I
it's,
think we're on 8.
8.
We have presentations. Public outreach report, though. same-
Oh, thank you. Can't read my own writing.
You've heard all this.
Yeah, and forgotten a lot of it too.
Well, happy December. I hope all of you are as busy as Aunt said picnic. I know most of us are. Stay healthy, stay safe. Meanwhile, I'm going to give a quick review and some new stuff. And I'll start with the lineup of classes, meetings, and events known to date for the first 6 months of 2024. And that begins with some training meeting, January 19th, and we'll be covering the upcoming class on compost, mulch, and soil amendments, which is on January 9th and 11th. It's a 2-evening course, which precedes the Seed to Salad course, which is a 15-week course this time. And it will help people learn to garden in the desert while conserving water. And that course begins on January 25th and runs through May 2nd. It is always on Zoom. All the classes that I am sharing tonight are on Zoom. And they start at 6 p.m. And the edible gardening course is every Thursday night for 15 weeks. And it's free. It is presented by the Mojave Desert Resource Conservation District. And I mentioned at the last meeting that the native plant sale was moved up a week. It still is. It's on Palm Sunday, which is going to be March 24th. I got a call from the National Park. Our new contract is in process. but he doesn't feel it's going to be ready in time, and so he wants us to hold to the earlier plant sale date, which is no problem. And by the way, staff, be prepared, you'll be getting the draft any day. He called to get who the new general manager was and to update it, and so he says it's about ready to come to you for pre-approval. So that's coming. The wildcrafting course this year, again, is all Friday mornings in May. The Water Education Festival, which is held at the junior high, and all water agencies participate in that. The date hasn't been determined, it's kind of up in the air, but it's always in May. And then, of course, I mentioned last time, the district tours are still slated in February, Thursday, the 22nd and the 29th. We will have absolute information out in the January newsletter on with that. And just a note that the December 20th board meeting will give a nod to our 60th anniversary here at Joshua Base Water District, so that's good. Farmers Market booth this month is holiday water gift ideas. I'm going to take a moment break before your closed session. I have two items that's really drawing a lot of interest, and they have to do with water. And they purify water when there's no power or no way. One is using ultraviolet light, and the other one is using sunlight. And both of them are very efficient and effective, and does draw a lot of conversation and interest. So we're getting people not just to think about water, but what if the water stops? So our booth has a lot of little ideas on water gifts. And it's hopeful that people think about that this holiday season. The farmers market theme this month, we will only be there through you don't have 2 weekends, and then we're off 2 weekends.
Well done. Yeah, wow.
But the last Saturday before Christmas, they're having Santa Claus out there, so those of you who have youngins, you're welcome to go there. It's all free. All right, drought messaging campaign, the Mojave Water Agency Strategic Partner Grant shared. It's a grant we all share, all the water districts, for conservation messaging. It's switched to a new message, slow the flow, save H2O, or similar. And there was a huge article on water conservation in the current Joshua Tree Voice publication. If you haven't grabbed it, it's still out there. You might want to see it. So we're trying to get people thinking conservation, even though they think they don't have to worry about water anymore, because it rained once. All right, the 2024 calendars are due maybe today, but I haven't gotten the phone call. We're waiting for them. Those will be out for sure at the booth in January. And briefly, I'm going to cover 1/5 of the legislative updates that impact us, possibly. And these are the ones that have passed. SB 659, that impacts groundwater storage and recharge. So if you want to read the whole bill, because we do groundwater and recharge, it would impact this water district. But that one has passed. AB 1594 passed. That relates to the zero emission vehicles. There was a big pushback on that bill because many of the water agencies were not exempt in the initial right of the bill. So a lot of big water districts pushed back, and now it is when they invent an electric vehicle that we need, we then have a window, it's all in the, you gotta read all the legalese, to have so much time to replace it with an electric. But until then, we are not gonna be penalized. So
What size vehicle?
they just said if there are the vehicles that they haven't even invented the mechanism, the original bill punished us. And so the bigger agencies said, no, wait a minute, come on, how does that work? an unfunded mandate without a solution. So it went back to the legislation, got re-amended, whatever, and now we're okay until they come out with it. And that gives us a little more breathing time to fight more, one way or the other, because it's so expensive.
Mhm.
And quite frankly, I don't know of a charging station other than in Yucca Valley, so that'd be an interesting thing. Right now, anyway. The college too, yeah, that's a drive. So anyway, that's just the bills as are in, and then, so that one's called the zero emissions bill. AB 30 passed. This one is similar to a federal HR 3966 bill that has to do with the prediction of weather and environmental concerns that impact the state on water reliability. It passed. I have no clue how they're going to enforce it. I don't think they do either, but they passed it. AB 1572 passed. It's on the non-functional turf. The only reason why I bring this one up, because we really don't have grass,
Oh,
but the way it's written, and this was a big discussion in the legislative meeting I went to, was what about backyard turf? If you have children and they need a kind of a playground safe, they said, the lobbyists, that backyard turf is not considered decorative or non-functional. It is actually functional. That's what they said. I just took notes on it. So you might want to read that bill to double check. It's AB 1572. Then AB 423, this is on PFAS, the polyfluoroalkyl substances. And that has to do with artificial turf, which a lot of people in the desert use because they don't want to spend the water. But it's just simply that they have to know and be told that if their piece of grass that they're buying that's artificial, if it has PFAS in it, there's all this legislation around that. So anyway, if you want to look into that bill, it's AB 423. The last thing on that is there was a big workshop in October, and it's the conservation is a way of life that's supposed to impact all of us. And it did not go through. And it's kind of still being worked on, so they think they'll get it passed, but not yet. And the problem is the DAC, or the disadvantaged communities, there were 34 pages outlining all the impacts to small water districts and low income water district areas. And it stopped it right there. And so they were going back to the drawing board. So I just thought you might want to know that's kind of on the table, but it's having trouble. Last thing on my report, just a reminder, we're closed Monday and Tuesday, December 25th and 6th, and January 1st and 2nd. Both of these are Mondays and Tuesdays. And that concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
What's non-functional turf?
You gotta be called on.
Well, she looked at me.
No, he's the president.
Look at me.
Well, in gratitude for correcting me on my minutes here, you can go first.
Thank you. What is non-functional turf?
My understanding is decorative.
Pretty.
On a wall or
Have
something?
you
or-
gone down
There's an example. The hospital has it.
I'm saying, and now they may have justified it somehow.
I'm surprised.
Green,
It's on the road.
yeah, green is healthy. I don't know, but my understanding, the way these were argued, non-functional turf was aesthetics, decorative, stuff like that.
I think it mostly have to do with front yards too.
Yes.
That don't really impact us out here in the desert, but down in the city areas, all the front yards that have the pretty decorative grass doesn't really get used. I think that's
Yeah.
big.
That's why there's a big argument over the backyard. What if you have kids? You know, they don't want them playing in the dirt, they want them playing on the lawn. And that's where they said it doesn't apply to the backyard, just fronts. So thank you for clarifying that.
And I think the PFAS is it reaches out of that.
mhm.
So
Into
Into
the,
the water
from the
system.
artificial turf. Yeah, so there was a big push years ago to go from grass to the artificial.
But now we have a PFAS
Now we have
issue.
PFAS issue,
So
so.
you've got this right and left crash. Any other questions?
Let's,
I did have a
we'll
question.
Go in order, yeah, Vice
Okay.
President.
I just wanted to know, you said you attended a legislative meeting. I'm just curious which one that was.
It's AWAC.
Oh, so you're, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can, anyone can go to their meeting,
Yeah.
and it's usually on a Tuesday. I'm trying to think when this one was. I just know I was in a, Alliance for Water Awareness and Conservation meeting, and our legislative update at that point was, it didn't come to the meeting. So we were all told to tune in to the next day where they have it at Mojave, and that's where they have all those. And you're more than welcome to tune in.
Oh,
to those.
absolutely, yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Director Jarlsberg?
I wondered if you could repeat some of the numbers. Make sure I got it down right. You went pretty quick. Let's start with the first one, SB 659.
One.
Yeah.
And
That has to do with groundwater storage and.
Yeah, I just wrote the numbers down. I'll look them up.
All right,
but,
this
uh,
is six five
And then
nine
AB
94,
1594, okay. And then AB 30,
AB 30, and AB 1572. And the other one, the last one was AB 423.
okay, good. I did hear them right. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that at the special districts meeting, our CSDA representative gives a legislative report often too, but it may be different ones than you're giving a
Well,
report.
mine are solely water focused.
Yeah,
There's hundreds of bills.
yes,
Hundreds.
yeah,
And just water has been overwhelming, so.
yeah. There were quite a few of these bills were mentioned in the work in the ACWA meetings last week, and so I'm trying to figure out which ones overlap and stuff, so too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Short?
Yes, on AB 1594, the zero emissions, did they kind of like define what they mean by type or kind of vehicle?
Well, it wasn't a real friendly discussion. This had to do with vehicles that were more heavy-duty industrial or big
Yeah.
guys.
Yes.
And that the big argument was, they haven't even made them yet. How do we
Yeah,
replace
yeah.
them? It did not have to do with the, half-ton, three-quarter-ton pickup type
Okay.
trucks, because they do have those out there, whether we're happy with them or not. They're out there.
Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
thanks. I just want to make sure that they're not going to try to make us replace our trucks with like that cyber truck. Because technically that's a truck, so.
Well, right now, currently, it doesn't apply to anything under 6,500 pounds.
Yes.
So our
Oh,
house,
pounds?
yes,
Ah.
so we're okay with our Tundras and our Tacomas currently.
And they just.
We suspect that could change.
Yeah,
I
and
want to say under,
Oh,
under, yes, under that weight.
and it's not just the trucks, it's the infrastructure, which is not there.
There's a lot
Yeah.
to this, and
Yeah.
it's just trying to stay on top of the new laws. And like I said, just water alone is overwhelming. There's so many laws out there. So
Yeah,
if there are no other, then I thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 9. By the way, David Carrillo, Chair of the CAC, if I overlook you in any of these things, just wave an arm or something like that, and you can comment on as you go. Welcome back, by the way.
yes.
Very much.
Item number 9, action calendar. Public outreach contract. General Manager Sarah Johnson.
Thank you. So today I bring you an updated contract for our public outreach services with Kathleen Radnich. She's been with our district for way over a decade, and her contract has not been updated very often during that time and clarified. So I worked with legal counsel and then with Kathleen to put together the contract that you have before you. As you know, engaging in public outreach is crucial for us. It helps us build those meaningful relationships and fosters transparency. And it also helps us achieve many of the goals that we have set forth And items such as our urban water management plan or other areas that we have that required outreach components. Kathleen has not raised her rates since 2018, so this contract does have an additional amount than she had before, but I think she clearly deserves it. We looked at the number carefully, calculated the CPI and the number of hours that she works to come up with that number. But again, it's up to the board's discretion. The contract itself is pretty straightforward, mostly boilerplate type of terms within the contract. The most important page is that last page on Appendix A and the types of items that Kathleen does for us already, but just a little bit more clearly articulated, public outreach, conservation outreach, helping with emergency preparation, creating content for us for poster boards and fact sheets, creating our newsletter content, which is a huge undertaking, and participating in all the meetings, like tonight's meeting and CAC meetings and AWAC meetings. Another one of the major items on here is the farmer's market that she coordinates and plans that weekly farmer's market booth. And last but not least, offers reports and presentations like you had tonight. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and also Kathleen would be so able to answer any questions if you have any of her.
Vice President Doolittle.
Well, thank you so much. Couple things. Thanks, Sarah and Jeff, for all your hard work on this contract. I believe it was probably hard to capture it all, so I appreciate it being updated. As I've said before, we're very lucky to have Kathleen. She has grace, intelligence, and dedication. And that dedication we see every week at the farmer's market. I mean, just, haul all that stuff down there and recruit her husband and all that sort of stuff, and then put up with Tom, it's just, and tonight when I heard her speak, I just had the momentary thought passed by me that Kathleen might be overqualified for this job, actually. So, and the scope, there's so much. So anyway, but I do have a few questions. I wanted to know, is this all she signs, or is there something else that she signs, like that we make consultants sign?
This is the only thing that she signed. I mean, this would be the contract.
Okay.
She would have to sign a sole proprietor form.
Oh, okay.
That's just,
Some tax things. Yeah, okay, because I just wondered, it occurred to me, when I read the CAC, they had something about the following the ethics guidelines. I know this has a conflict of interest, but I just noticed that ethics thing wasn't in here. So anyway, that's just a thought. Let's see. So you mentioned the strategic partners grant, Kathleen, when you were talking. So do you write that grant? Is that any of that? Do you write that grant? That's,
I have written it
or parts of it? Yeah.
every year since 2000.
Okay.
And then this past year. This past year, because of my employment with Mojave Water Agency, General Manager Johnson handled submitting the grant.
Oh, okay. Well,
So it was taken out of my hands.
oh, all right.
for
Okay.
the conflict of interest.
Okay, yeah, because I just wondered that. I didn't see that reflected in here anywhere.
the other part of that too, that's just important for that particular grant is it doesn't just include us, it includes High
I
Desert.
heard that. Yeah.
29 participates on their own accord. They're not part of Mojave Water Agency along with Bighorn. So all of us have a say. I talked with, Paul
Yeah.
Peschel about, his concerns and make sure that all of those different parties had their concerns addressed within the grants.
Okay, so a couple things. I know that, this contract was considered finished, but there are a few things that I'm concerned about. One is that I would like to encourage the district to use the Aqua State Quench California marketing materials. There's nobody up here doing that, and they will customize that for us. They'll put our logo on there. And so I would like to see that we have that, if you guys agree, operationally done in 2024. And if so, then I would think that would need to be on the contract. I think that we need some goals. Sometimes it's good to have a number by things, And so, this just occurred to me when I was looking. So for example, I beat the social media drum, but it seems like we should have a goal of a number of social media, because right now, as it is, create content that she could just create one thing. And, I'm not saying that would ever happen, but I think it needs to be, we need some sort of a goal there, particularly for the social media. All right, then I would, and one thing that I think would be good to help manage that is you create a social media posting calendar and you do it the year ahead of time. And so you could tie it to your monthly themes at the farmer's market. And so one post a month then would be 12 posts. So that's just one example of how that could be done. I've done those social media posting calendars for volunteer groups that I belong to. And yeah, I think that's it. That's all. Let me double check real quick if that's all I had. Yeah, that's all I had. Wait. Oh, and then I just didn't know if we ever hired a graphic designer, that the district that we'd want her to, this consultant to work with that graphic designer.
I could point out number 11 in the contract is format of documents.
Mhm.
And that, if we specifically think about Quench, California, and Quench, California goes away, well, then now her contract is now has a clause in it that doesn't apply because it goes away. So explicitly pointing that out, I think would be not a benefit to us, but that we have that document shall be submitted in electronic format according to the specifications provided by the district.
Okay.
There's a couple of other areas in here where, we talk about that the standard of performance is number 10. Same thing, that the district can point out that these are the things that we want. So for instance, if we decided to go with Quench California's campaigns, that we would then say, we want you to use Quench California. And that's built into the terms of the contract without explicitly pointing out Quench California, because maybe there'll be another one and that one wouldn't be in here. And then if we are going to point them all out, then that means every time a new one comes, we're going to bring the contract back to the board. So being clear, but also broad helps us because we can change and pivot should we need to.
Dr. Jarlsberg?
I appreciate redoing this also. I think it's obviously time. Speaking of time, is there any, I'm not quite sure if there's any time listed in this as to, is it 20 hours a week or is it varied or?
So all of the items on Appendix A are as many hours. Currently, Kathleen, we talked about, we are about 60 hours a month or so.
Yeah,
It
it
varies.
goes between 25 and 30 hours a week. In some weeks, I'm down to maybe 18 hours, but I can
Varies.
fill it on another.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah,
You have to do a lot of time management in
Yeah.
this position.
But this doesn't, this is everything here. If it takes her 100 hours or it takes her 20 hours, it's the same amount.
right, okay.
So we might have months where they're greater and months where they're less. And then anything outside of that scope would be an hourly rate.
And my other question, probably either doesn't need to be discussed tonight or is a larger question. It seems to me that I heard some discussion maybe years ago of Kathleen being an employee. Has that been thought about lately?
It has been thought about, and there was a lot of blurred lines for a long period of time. And so we have taken a lot of steps to separate those lines. For instance, Kathleen uses all of her own equipment. She has other clients, she has insurance,
Right.
she has a DBA, she has all these different things that she's clearly her own business. In the past, the district, because we have a very close relationship with Kathleen, she's been in the district for a long time, the district was providing things such as business cards and email addresses, those things. And that's where you blur those lines, you start creating that employment relationship. So we have separated all of those. Kathleen is her own entity, and it's worked out well. We've talked with Jeff and she is her own business. And she has other clients too. not just us.
I'm sure, when I first met Kathleen, it was, I don't know, 6 years ago, near when I first moved here. We had a Chamber of Commerce at that point, and she came and spoke to us, and I thought she was the water district. And I have a feeling a lot of people feel
Yeah.
that. So, hopefully they know she's not an employee, but I think that's probably blurred out there
I
also.
think it can be blurred, and I think because of that close relationship, you,
Yeah.
as the board, sees her all the time, you know, we see her all the time, but we're trying to be, excuse me, very clear that, you know, it's an independent contractor consultant relationship to the district.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that's what you both agreed
Well,
on,
and-
so.
Just to clarify, when we're out the market, we wear ID, and mine says consultant. And when they ask for my card, no longer, now in the beginning, they wanted me to be their representative, and I was hired by the board. Everything has changed.
Oh, okay.
Laws have changed.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
are being flexible. When IRS changed the employee tax laws and all that, we changed it. General Manager Johnson came in and started cleaning things up, and she says, there's new rules, new this, new that, so we just fixed it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And it's challenging too, because we don't want hurt feelings, and it was never about feelings, but
Totally.
these laws changed, and therefore we had to, you know, pivot and make sure that we're complying with those new regulations.
I think we're just happy she's still here.
Yes.
So I appreciate everything.
Director Short.
Oh, yes, stop back. How does the contract compare to the previous one on the pay?
Oh, in regards to pay, the last one, what was your hours?
I was at 42.
42 per hour, and it was all hourly. So
Okay.
this is a flat amount with an hourly.
Okay,
Okay, and
And
Just-
regards to the amount, it's about, what was your average monthly before? Or
My
current, I
average
should say,
monthly, I think it was around
30,
3,600.
36 to 38.
It's
So
so hard
okay.
because it changes.
It does.
right. Well, we get the financial report and see.
Yes,
Yeah.
you see the weekly amounts
Yeah.
on that check register. So this will change to a monthly amount and invoice once.
Oh,
And, you know, we talked about this, trying to create a little less heartache, you know, in those employment, non-employer relationships. She's her own business. I don't need to know what hours she's working. I know that we have a need for her to be at the market from this time to this time, but if she wants to work on a Sunday night until 10 PM, that's, you know, up to her because she's her own business.
okay, and just for like public information, the retainer isn't 54K on top of the 4.5 per month. It says retainer, right?
That's the.
Yes, 54 public retainer. So it's just so people that watch this know, it's not 45 or 4.5K per month on top of 54K a year. So
That's the total amount. You're correct.
know.
Yes.
making sure that that's clear. And on number 7, on the reimbursement, I have no doubt that Kathleen would not abuse this, or that would abuse this, but I would like some kind of guideline on that, like either pre-approval on purchases. And obviously like food and whatnot, but
It actually is in there that all purchases have to be approved by the general manager prior to reimbursement. And I think that is on number 6.
And we do practice
Okay,
that.
okay.
We have practiced that.
oh,
Good, good.
okay.
also that made the connection on it. Okay, thank you.
This, this is a rather lengthy contract. There's all sorts of stuff in here.
Are you gonna ask David?
Did I forget David again? I'm not having a good night.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. They're covered, everybody's covered any questions I could possibly have on this thing. And I've known Kathleen since, I think, 2006. Green Developers, remember Green Developers and Mr. What was that guy?
BIA council,
Yeah, long ago. So,
what an education.
Well, we have started to indicate too that things, one, Kathleen is a contractor, independent contractor, and she's got multiple responsibilities. However, she is closely supervised here there's close communication between the general manager and Kathleen. And a lot of that is, as we're discovering, is outlined in this contractor standards of performance, ownership of work project, item 8 invoices and payments. She's even promised to use Microsoft 365
Yeah.
in her work product. That's in here too, that kind of thing. Conflict of interest, which is an important one, I think. And confidential information, even after she ceases employment, all that kind of thing. Indemnifications, there's just a load of stuff in here. So this isn't a casual thing, but really the most important thing is that I've always thought, and I've invested a lot of time in communication with our ratepayers. And if they don't have confidence, that's our ratepayers don't have confidence in our product, which is the water, then what are we doing here? That kind of a thing. And Kathleen, she's not as bound to the office as our general manager is. And so she is one of the major faces that's presented to the public, along with our exterior crews that do a lot of the work in the field. We always hear about how courteous and
Wonderful.
generous with your time with people. That's when I first met Jeremiah, was something like 8 or 10 years ago, when he was replacing a fire hydrant on my street. He came over and talked to me about all that stuff. To this day, I remember that. So anyway, I don't want to discount, the human element of the people that work here and their communication with the public. But Kathleen is grinding it out every day in many ways, trying to get our message out there that they can drink the water, and that we do our very best to keep the service standard high and the price responsible, that kind of a thing. And working with her as long as I have, which is something like 7, 8 years of Saturdays out there.
Wow.
Rain or, well, not rain.
Wind.
The wind is.
Boiling heat.
I can remember I left for a moment to go to Copper Mountain Mesa to their board meeting or breakfast or something. And when I was leaving, the phone rang and she says, I need you here, because the wind was, and I was literally, when I parked, I ran to the booth. And she was standing at the corner on the windward side, holding on to one of the corners of the tent to keep it from blowing away. And the energy level that I've seen with her is consistently high. And there's things that would take extra time, like say the tours of the garden, which is part of water conservation, which is an important thing for us and the state. There's never hesitation to take out that little grocery store spiral binder and writing down a person's name and when they can do it, and also promoting the newsletter too. She'll always ask about the newsletter when she's engaging people. And so all of this stuff is just, I think it's very well done. And she does tolerate me very well while I'm there. We do work as sort of a team where when we work with the people, she'll say stuff and then I'll say stuff, and we're patient with each other. She tolerates me very well with that kind of thing. So what I'm saying is she's a treasure, and we'll never, ever get anybody quite like this.
That's true.
We can get people that'll obey the contract and all that other kinds of stuff, but the energy level is there, the attention is there. And we're lucky to have her.
I can note one more thing. I did ask our HR generalist to do a compensation study on this type of position. And the hourly rate is very comparable to other folks in the industry at $50 an hour. And the $4,500 a month, I think, is a bargain So we would be able to get, I know we would not be able to get a full-time person for that amount for sure, but to get anybody for that amount would be really challenging.
You have any further?
I'm here. You have any more questions?
Citizens Advisory Council Chairman David Correa, do you have any comments to make?
Yeah, what,
Microphone?
yeah, bouncing off everybody what they said, she is a treasure. Kathleen, I've seen her work tirelessly and when she's freezing cold or melting in the sun. And I think it would probably take 3 or 4 people to do the work that she does. And so she's a great asset even to the CAC. Great encourager. If I have any questions, instead of bothering the general manager or any other folks, she's the go-to for me. So she does answer phone calls, not just mine, but other people, having to do with the water district on her own time. So I'm really grateful for her and the time that she does. Thank you for it. You better. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Okay, is there a motion from the board to approve the attached updated agreement between Jasper Basin Water District and Kathleen Radnich to provide public outreach consulting services?
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Fleming,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle,
Aye.
Director Fick,
Aye.
Director Short,
Aye.
Director Charlesburg.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay. 9B. Citizens Advisory Council bylaws. General Manager Johnson, please.
Hello again. All right, so tonight I bring to you the Citizen Advisory Council bylaws. The CAC has been a platform for citizens in our district to share opinions, study issues, and formulate recommendations in a small group and bring those recommendations to the board. It has been in effect since approximately May 2005, and they were designed to be a temporary committee, and then they became a standing committee. What I have found over the last couple of years as well, there were some unofficial guidelines, there were no bylaws. And this led to a lot of confusion and processes and direction. And so in response, we developed the draft bylaws that you have in front of you, and this should help provide clarity. These were reviewed by the Citizens Advisory Council at the last meeting, and they offered suggestions or recommendations which we incorporated. And tonight we ask that you consider these and approve them so that we can bring them back to the CAC and have those official guidelines in place. I will note that the only thing that was added to this since the CAC reviewed them is in section Article 2E, and that's terms. And this is after Jeff and I reviewed these together, and he recommended that there should be terms in CAC, just like there's the terms at the board. And it doesn't mean that their term necessarily would end. They would just go through a reappointment process. It keeps their faces fresh with the board, as well as their time here with the board. We've also in Article 1A gave a purpose to the CAC because it kind of floundered there for a while, and now we have a purpose that they will provide some informed suggestions or recommendations on district-related issues. For example, we're going to bring them the website in January. And I anticipate we'll be bringing them the bill redesign for their review as well. And one thing I added in here, I thought that was important, is that the board could also direct me to bring an issue to the CAC for their review. And I don't think we've done that before. So that's something that I think is, if we're kicking around an idea, that we could say, the board could say, bring that to the CAC, we'd like to get their recommendation, and then the CAC chairperson can bring back recommendations from those meetings. Otherwise, these articles they're pretty routine in nature, very similar to other CACs. I did a little borrowing from other water districts guidelines for their bylaws for CACs. Nothing in here that is out of the ordinary, I don't believe. They do have a code of ethics, which they didn't have before. They have to abide by any of the harassment policies that we have in the district. They have similar Brown Act teleconferencing procedures that the board has. And because the CAC often is a good platform to learn how to be a board member, having these bylaws in place helps them learn the processes. So if they ever did become a board member, they already have a good ground to get there. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Vice President Doolittle,
Nothing from me.
Director Fick.
Are they required to do the ethics and the, what's the other one, sexual harassment?
There's not a requirement to have them do the training, and it's not required by law, but it is something that when they get the bylaws, we're gonna have them sign it so they understand the bylaws and the policies are stated. They will have some trainings that we will do. There's only 6 meetings in a year, so our time is limited. We can always add meetings if necessary, but we will have different trainings, and that could be incorporated as one of the trainings that we bring to them.
I'm just curious. Not that I would want to see it done. It's just,
Yeah, it's not required at this point in time, and we've not had any issues, thankfully. The biggest issue we've had with CAC is folks not coming to the meetings and they're taking up a spot. There's only so many
Right.
spots. So
Right.
now we have a nice gentle exit pathway nobody really has to make a decision. If you don't come, then you automatically can be removed from the CAC, but you're eligible to reapply. So no hurt feelings, because before it was the CAC members had to, make a vote, removal. Really, this is the board's CAC, so we did a nice, I think, a pretty good job in here of how to get people on the CAC and how they can exit gracefully. I answered your question.
Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of volunteer groups, and when you have completely volunteer groups, with which this CAC is, you have to be a lot more diplomatic about things, because they can always quit, whoever they are.
Director Jarlsberg?
Yeah, I have several things, actually. I'm really glad to see this. Having gone through the CAC myself, it would have been lovely to have this when I was on it. So, but I do have a number of questions. One of the things is the purpose, to start off. It seems to me that you're talking about the CAC purpose going in one direction towards the board. I really feel like there's another direction coming in from the community that should be mentioned, because they really are representing the community as a whole. And I don't know if we would call them representatives from a community, liaison to the community, or liaison to ratepayers or something. I was kind of playing with various things, but I really feel like there should be, it should be mentioned in the purpose that they're really coming from the community, representing the community without official authority, which is already mentioned. That's what I felt I came onto the CAC for, and what I would talk to anybody I would recruit to get on the CAC, that they really think of themselves as a member of the community. Anyway, something to think about. And then membership application, I haven't been able to find an updated version of that yet. And I couldn't find it on the website. I can't find any reference to it on the website. And I thought maybe it should be attached to this.
It is on our website, right? Yeah.
Where?
Yeah, it's
Where?
under Citizen Advisory Council. It is on the website because we actually have used it a couple times. We have a couple new applications that came.
Yeah, I know you did,
on
but I
the
didn't know where to
website,
find it.
It's actually not going to be a PDF. It's going to be a web form, so they can fill it out right on the website and it gets submitted. So that will be nice. But
Well, I tried today to find it. I couldn't find it.
I'll send you a link.
It's in the search box. I typed in,
Our current
And it's
website
not-
search box is not very
Then-
robust.
no.
We didn't use that, but it's under CAC.
but I went to
under-
CAC and looked, and there weren't no links, anything like that,
Did you
but
check on that?
I think it's under community.
Community?
It's kind of hidden, yeah.
Okay.
I went to community too and looked. Anyway, I thought it could be attached to this, to their
Both of these documents will be on the CAC page. They're gonna have their own page on our new website.
Oh,
And
okay,
the bylaws will be there along with the membership application.
okay. And I have a question about membership eligibility. My first reaction was that they have to be a registered voter because I question that. Why? Because we might at some point like to have students or interns, people who might be interested in working eventually for the water district or really getting involved, but not old enough to vote. And,
We have to have everybody over 18. So
okay,
that would be one concern. Some of these are a carryover from the original guidelines when this was developed. So that's why that carried over onto these. And because the folks that are on the CAC are registered voters within Joshua Basin Water District, so they can help ensure that they're residents here and that they, you wouldn't want someone, for instance, from Yucca Valley on our CAC. They need to, it would need to be somebody.
but why would they need to be a registered voter though?
That was the original guidelines, and so it was a carryover for that reason.
Okay,
But I think it's to ensure that they're eligible members of the Joshua Basin community because they're helping form decisions for Joshua Basin Water District.
do you have to be a registered, it says and registered voter, you don't have to be a registered voter to be a resident, account holder, or property owner.
I think it's just a way to identify that they are truly eligible. But if that's a point of contention for the full board, then that's something that can be.
Yeah, I don't know, I have no idea if they have, but I'm just curious, because I,
Might also be if they have to fill in.
Kathleen?
I just want to help clarify what it used to be back when, is because some properties that had water meters, so they had accounts, were owned by people outside of the area. They were not a registered voter here. They might have been down in Newport Beach, but they owned all this extra property. And it was felt back then.
oh, okay,
That
so-
if they're a registered voter here,
right,
then that validates they are a true resident and they have, many people have vested interests here, but they're really not community. And that was how it was in the past.
so this statement that property owners and registered voters go together, not residents, account holders, and property owners, and the and goes with property owners, not necessarily residents or account holders.
Well, why
The way
don't,
it's written.
why don't we just say that we can interpret these qualifications liberally and make a measurement of what's in a person's heart and their energy level and their potential contribution to the water company, and then ignore that thing about voting.
I had a couple other questions on this.
My requirement is that they have a brain and a heartbeat.
Totally. I agree. And interested in, our district, obviously. But would former board members be possible members?
Yes,
they-
I could testify to that one.
Yeah, because we thought about Gary at one point.
Yeah, former board members definitely.
Yeah, well, I just wondered if it would be mentioned because the board, board members are mentioned as not eligible. And then I wondered if the CAC members represent, not district, but the areas, the 5 areas that we have. Do you have any attempt to have those covered by CAC
We have
members?
such a hard time getting CAC members trying to.
I know, it was just a
We had
question.
Canceled meetings after canceled meetings this year because we couldn't even get anybody.
Right, right. Okay, though, that's most of my interest. Let's see. That was it.
Thank you. Director Jarlsberg, I just want to add to your question about the divisions that we have.
Divisions, I keep forgetting the word.
When you run for office, you have to, by law, represent a division.
Right,
But once you're here, you're representing the whole community.
right.
And that's why I personally wanted to say, when we're recruiting people, President Sloan kind of understated they have to have a heartbeat and a brain. We are very picky. We want people who care about the future of the community's
Right.
water and the current water situation.
Right.
And that's people who live here, people who are residents. And really, since the water, it's kind of still a closed loop system, last I heard, right? So we're pretty much drinking.
Our water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the council to represent the public and come in with what they're hearing, and I don't think it matters. I really
Right.
don't.
Okay.
It's my 2 cents. Thank you.
For sure.
I have nothing.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Jane hit on one of my favorite things, and that is that the part about representing the community. When I'm recruiting people these days, I tell them that the general manager very much wants to hear input from members of the community. And it's a terrific time. I'm talking about the meetings now. It's a terrific time to have an interaction between other members of the staff too, that are here to report on relevant things to the CAC. And I was on it twice. Once when I was actually appointed, and then after I lost an election,
Right.
came in fourth place. I went back to the CAC. I was quoted in the newspaper saying, "I ain't going nowhere." Kind of a thing. And I think they're invaluable. We have to hear opinions from everybody if we can, as much as possible, so that we're guided by what the public wants. This is a community-owned water company. We have it on one of our brand new banners, the one that we have in the rear of the booth, which says they're community-owned water company. I point to it at least twice a day, I would say. It's a thing too where we're being open. We're not hiding anything here. And when I tell people stuff, they're surprised, that so much is going on, and that we're telling them these kind of things, how much things cost, and how many people work here, what we do with the trucks, and just all manner of things. This communication is really important. And from personal experience, I've also seen that when we communicate with the public, we can eliminate some of the animosities or misunderstandings that they have about what our mission is here, and how carefully we adhere to it. I'm pointing at it up on the wall over there. So anyway, I think it's a good idea to have them, and they are heated too, and on at least one occasion exercise some extraordinary power with the board. Shall we just say that they caused the board and staff to reevaluate some of their priorities. Let's just say that. And
When I
in
was
other
on
words,
it also.
they are for real. And I tell people that I recruit that. Hopefully I get my neighbor who was doing his laundry at the laundromat to submit an application, because he's a very thoughtful guy. We always have to recruit because of the problem we have keeping a consistent number of people up there.
So it is an option to make a motion to approve these with the changes or corrections that were stated. That is possible to do now. Or you can.
Suggested.
Suggested, but somebody can make the motion to approve with whatever that suggestion is, and see if you get a second.
I make a motion to approve the CAC bylaws with the proposed or suggested changes.
What are the
Yeah, right.
What we just said, what we just said.
Yeah, that's one of
For
our,
us to be able to articulate and write them down, I need to have a little bit clearer
Yeah.
motion of what those are. There are a lot of ideas.
Are we removing the requirement to be a registered voter?
That's, up for discussion.
I think it's fine.
have we cut off
I don't think
David?
we've ever requested their voter identification. I don't know how we've ever proven that, so it might be arbitrary.
I know we've got a motion on board here, but I have overlooked David again. Chair of the CAC, do you have a comment? to make on these bylaw things and all this?
Hold that, David.
I withdraw my motion. For the time being.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
I think they're good as is, and as far as the CAC members becoming CAC members, they are voted on. So you can, whether they are a registered voter or not, you can go with the whole package, not just that one little statement. So I think it's a good package. I think it clears up a lot of stuff that was not so clear before. So I hope you would go through with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You have a question for me?
well, kind of, it's related to what you were just talking about.
Sorry.
If this sentence could be clarified to say that property owners are the ones we're asking for registration.
Okay, that would be it.
Because that identifies them as actually being committed to this community.
Yeah, we need a stakeholder, kind of a evidence of
Yeah,
being a stakeholder.
But this, the way the sentence is written is not, that's not clear.
So to be eligible to join the CAC, members must be residents, account holders, or property owners, and must be registered voters in the district. I think going back to what Kathleen said, this would get away from, having this would get away from somebody being a part-timer or someone that,
Right, but I don't think this sentence makes that clear that it relates to only the property owners, not necessarily residents and town holders.
So should say full-time.
I'll just intervene a little bit. I would not read the sentence as that only applying to property owners. Given the location of must in that sentence, there's two musts that makes those
That's
two
my point.
independent clauses. So registered voters would, I believe, is written apply to the entire clause before that, the
The way it's
residents.
written, yes.
Yeah.
yes, so all of those would then need to be registered voters because they're two
Correct.
independent clauses.
As written. It's not a legal requirement. Only board members have to be registered voters, but it is as written, that is a requirement for the CAC in these bylaws.
And it would be a good idea to have it there because if they ever were to become a board member, then we know, that they're eligible. If they're ever up for appointment or wanting to
Yeah,
run.
no, I understand.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I'm wishy-washy on it.
Okay, Vice President Doolittle, do you want to take a crack at,
What about the purpose? What are you saying about the purpose? I think there would be a simple way to add it, add something.
Let Jane do it. She's the one who's been talking about it.
Jane, you want to make a motion on this deal?
Well, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna discuss it more after the motion. Is that how you want to do it, or are we
No,
discussing it before?
the motion would close the discussion.
Yeah, because I think there might be a simple way to add this emphasis from the community in the purpose paragraph.
In the last sentence, if we add in CAC members will represent the community. Community information. So on and so forth. That would be an easy-
Yeah, that would be a place to do it.
Incorporate that general information simply.
Yeah, because I feel like the first sentence just emphasizes going to the board as opposed to coming from the community.
All right, so CAC members will represent the community, review information and dot, dot, dot.
Yes. Yes.
That satisfies everybody. We can,
Well, I have two questions. How do you contact CAC board members? Through email, phone, or how does that work?
they're not board members, they're,
Representative.
yes, how do we contact them?
Yeah.
However, whatever information they give us to contact them, but generally we email them and we call them.
Okay, should they be required to have an email?
They're not required to have an email. We don't provide them an email because this is an uncompensated position. But we've never ran into a situation where we didn't have an email that we can
Yeah.
use to contact them.
Because registered voter and email is sort of a competency test too. Not that I would expect anybody volunteering to not have an email.
Honestly, I haven't ran into that in so long. It'd be very rare, but it could happen. Definitely could happen.
Jane, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I would make a motion to accept the bylaws for the Citizen Advisory Council for 2023. With the addition of the statement on the second, beginning at this, no, it's the third sentence of the first paragraph under purpose, stating that community members come from the community. What did you say, David?
CEC members represent the community, comma, review information,
Yeah.
comma, et cetera.
That, yeah, with that.
I have the notes written.
Oh, good, good. And I think, okay, so I make a motion for that addition. Otherwise, that's the proposed bylaws look good.
I think staff gets the idea. Is there a second?
You don't know anything about the registered voter?
No. It's too complicated.
Just make sure.
I'll second the motion. General Manager Johnson, can we have a roll call, please?
President Flowen.
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle.
Yes.
Director Fick.
Aye.
Director Short.
Aye.
Director Jarlsberg.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carried. Okay, section 125 and flexible spending accounts. General Manager Johnson.
Right, tired of me yet? All right, this one is more of a housekeeping issue. So we have what's called a section 125 cafeteria plan. And that is the legal framework in which the employer, Joshua Basin Water District, can offer employees health insurance, the FSA, which is a flexible spending account, and other health-related benefits on a pre-tax basis. The board has to adopt this section 125 plan in order for those items to be pre-tax. Because we're changing from Paylocity to paychecks, this is more of a housekeeping item. All of the documents follow. It gets a little benefit legalese in here, but essentially it's a new section 125 cafeteria plan and an FSA from paychecks rather than Paylocity. I can happily answer any questions. This is, if you're not a benefits guru, it can be a little bit confusing, but I think the biggest point to think about is the benefits are offered already by the board to employees, and they flow through their payroll and they flow through pre-tax. So that's the most important piece. And without the section 125 adopted, then it would be post a taxable benefit. That would not be a great benefit. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Vice President Doolittle.
Nothing for me. I recommend that we approve this as it is and quickly because we have a long meeting tonight.
Director Fick.
I'll trust our general manager on this one.
Director Jarlsberg.
A ditto.
Director Short.
Got nothing.
Well, obviously, if we have this thing, then this has been pretty much run by the employees, and the employees support this thing.
The employees don't know what this thing is.
A couple of them do.
Employees enjoy getting their health care without being taxed on their health care, and they don't know how that happens. This is how that happens.
Yeah, this is it's one of those kinds of things where you see a whole bunch of information here, but you don't necessarily, as a layperson, you don't necessarily know what might be missing. And that's why I'm kind of concerned, but I know Jeff has probably been involved in this thing too.
We have had our representative from ALRR, one of Jeff's colleagues, reviewing this with us.
Okay.
Jeff referred it, because Jeff is general counsel, and he referred us to Cindy.
Yeah, Cindy Strom, I believe.
Yes,
Mhm.
she's the benefits guru there.
Shall I make a motion? Are we ready?
Yeah, I think we are there. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 231060 approving section 125 cafeteria plan and flexible spending account.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Thank you
second.
very much. Let's have a roll call, please.
President Cohen.
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle.
Aye.
Director Fick.
Aye.
Director Short.
Aye.
Director Drosser.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion carried. Well, here's another one. California Extended Arrearage Payment
Yeah,
Program.
this is,
Director of Finance, Ann Roman, your presentation, please.
Thank you very much. I've been waiting for my turn very patiently.
Could you move the microphone a little closer?
Yes.
It's a little tricky.
All right. Yeah. I'll try. All right. So tonight, the board members have an interesting opportunity, a potentially difficult decision in front of them. Staff recently learned that the California Water and Wastewater Arrearage Payment Program has been extended. We participated in this program, the original program in, it was about 2021. And just to clarify, this program is not related to the LEWAP or Low Income Household Assistance Program that we've been talking about more recently, in case there's any confusion about that. So as we contemplated whether to again recommend participating in this voluntary program, we're conflicted between so many important competing priorities and the opportunity to assist our disadvantaged ratepayers, of course. Yet for the many reasons that I have listed below, staff at this time recommends opting out of this program. But staff would ask the board to weigh the statistics and information below in its decision as to whether we would like to participate. So I'll give you a little bit of background on the first arrearage program, if you are not a part of that effort. In 2022, the district received net arrearage credits of $314,944. In addition, we were reimbursed for $6,180 in quantifiable administrative costs. $40,207 in required associated penalty waivers were provided to ratepayers, which resulted in a net benefit of approximately $280,917. So this program, which originates from the federal government, it's funded through ARPA funds and trickles down to the state, and then the state provides these funds to us to cure our accounts receivable that had accumulated throughout the COVID period when the state, the governor had issued a moratorium on water service shutoffs. And so that's a little bit of background on this program. So now the state has come back with an extended program. And I've done a rough estimate of potential participation in this program. And the number that I've come back with is $155,000 less approximately $17,000 in required penalty waivers, as the program does require that we provide penalty waivers for all of those participants, up to $4,650 or 3% of the credits that are granted through this program may be claimed in quantifiable administrative costs. This could result in a net benefit of up to $142,650. I have a little bit of an update on this. This could further increase somewhat based on what I have learned. The state is suggesting that agencies attribute payments made during the eligible timeframe to debt outside of the eligible timeframe, which would increase the arrearage balance in effect. This all, and I'll mention this again later, but this all requires a tremendous amount of manual analysis on our accounts because they have layered additional requirements. And so I'll get to that in a little bit. So where our accounts receivable stands, as of March 2022, when we applied the arrearages credits from the original program, Our accounts receivable balance stood at $840,990. As of November 14th, the district AR or accounts receivable stands at $992,640. And that includes the receipt of the LEWA payments of almost $90,000. If you recall, David went through with customers, getting them qualified through the county agencies for that program, a separate program. And those credits were applied to customers. So we have some challenges that we anticipate. The first item that's mentioned is the SAM.gov, the federal SAM.gov registration. This is a registration that's required for any grants that are obtained through the federal government. And this program now did not the first time, but now requires that we have this SAM.gov registration number. We just obtained it, so that is an update there for you. We've been trying to get that for about a year or more, yeah. So we just got that. We learned about this program just before its application opening date around November 1st, but the application period is relatively short and closes on December 31st. So we are coming up on that quite quickly.
And just to note, we received the information on November 1st, had a couple of weeks to analyze the information to see if we were qualified, make sure we had the SAM.gov registrations. We started a lot of preliminary work. This is the first board meeting we could get this to, so just want to keep that in mind.
Thank you. Approval is also dependent on available funding and not guaranteed. The extended arrearages program has a specific time frame for eligible balances. So the first program considered balances accrued from around March 2020 through June 15th, 2021. Now, for the extended arrearage program, they are considering eligible balances that accrued between June 16th of 2021 and December 31st of 2022. Now, after the first arrearages program and the requirement of that program to offer contracts to our ratepayers, our financial software has reset the balance aging dates, which makes it virtually impossible for us to use the software reporting to determine the time frame of the accrued balances, making it very challenging to extract the second round of data. And most likely this is going to be a manual process that we will have to go through to analyze over 800 accounts. In addition to, so these are accounts that have contracts and or liens on them. So about 800 accounts there that I anticipate we would have to analyze manually. And then of course we have to review all of the other accounts as well to see where they stand. So I've also listed here the lengthy internal and external application and compliance requirements. We have about 19 steps there involved in this process. I won't read all of those off, but it is quite a bit. We have now also a requirement, in addition to what's listed here, to notify our customers as soon as we apply for this program, to let them know not to pay their bills at that point, basically, as we wait to determine whether we will be granted any credits through the program. So we have some trade-offs there that we'd be looking at if we decided to participate in this program. Potential deferred projects. In our small finance department, staff time is precious, and we only have small windows of opportunity that aren't already dedicated to big projects such as the audit and budget. And so here are some of the projects that would suffer if we were to participate in this program. So asset tracking, we talked about that a little bit earlier on the project list. This was an auditor recommendation, excuse me, and it is also a budgeted strategic plan item. Vehicle taxation, this is a IRS required and CPA and legal recommended item. I am currently heavily participating in the payroll software conversion. We have meter installation fee updates forthcoming that haven't been done for a few years due to time constraints. We also have of interest possibly to the board, the cost allocation plan, which I really was hoping to get into next year's budget so that we can develop that system for applying overhead that would enable us to, well, first of all, more defensively apply overhead, but also to be eligible for more federal, state grants and emergency funding that could be disallowed if we didn't have such a plan. Costs. A rough estimate of time to administer this program is, I'm thinking a minimum of 150 hours of staff time and an average labor benefit rate of 8281 or about $12,500. There could be additional costs required if we need to bring in some temporary labor to assist with this. But most importantly, I feel that there are real potential costs associated with the trade-off of sidelining other programs to participate in this one. So what I mentioned earlier, the asset tracking. So in response to an incident a few years ago and the resulting auditor comments, an asset tracking program is being implemented. I'm already working on it, but it still requires significant effort to be functional. The district has approximately $4.6 million in mobile assets, large equipment, and attractive expendables, most of which are unaudited and vulnerable. The district has been fortunate through its 60-year history to have suffered presumed minimal losses despite the lack of asset tracking and audits. And I just want to mention, this comment is not a reflection on staff in any way, but rather reflects required skepticism, and trust is not a factor. Internal controls are necessary. Pushing back preparation of a cost allocation audit plan could cost us future grant or emergency funding. And upon application of this extended arrearage program, cutoffs would need to be halted for the ratepayers through another manual process. If the funding were ultimately not awarded, our ratepayer balances would begin increasing before we could start cutting off again. Excuse me just a moment. All right. So ultimately, the limited staff members that could be involved in doing the analysis and application process for this program would basically be able to do nothing else for the rest of the month of December. So I find that to be a little bit unrealistic where we are right now. So with many important projects filling any spare time that we may have, such as the payroll conversion, asset tracking implementation, vehicle taxation, meter fees, etc., my inclination is to pass up this extended arrearage opportunity. Well, it pains me to say that from a short-term fiscal standpoint, the cost of potential trade-offs could be greater than the benefit to individual ratepayers from this program. And I would like to add this reminder that costs arising from operational deficiencies would likely also be borne by individual ratepayers in pass-through costs. So, you know, it's important that we attend to those other matters as well. Should the board ultimately decide to participate in the California Extended Water and Wastewater Arrearage Program, for understandable reasons, of course, we respectfully request that the attached resolution 23-1059 be adopted so that staff can proceed as quickly as possible. And for fiscal impact, I will just mention again that we have a potential net gain here of $142,500 from the arrearages payments. that could be offset by unquantifiable opportunity costs and other unexecuted programs. Accounts receivable from deferred cutoffs could also increase if the arrearage funding did not materialize. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Vice President Doolittle.
And thank you for going through that slowly. That doesn't mean that I achieved understanding, so I'm going to have a lot of questions. And I would just have one thought to share with the district, that in the future, maybe considering putting these number-heavy presentations at the top of the meeting, please, when we're a little bit fresher. So the results of the first arrearages program, so that's like 21, 21, 22, is that what, okay. And so then, yeah, okay, so when, this is difficult for a layperson to understand, which worries me about putting it on the giving it to the public. But when we say 40,000 in required associated penalty waivers were provided to ratepayers, that means that we waived $40,027
That's
of
correct.
penalties.
That's correct. We lost $40,000 in revenue
Okay,
because we waived those penalties.
okay, and so then that results in this net benefit of 280,917. And so when we say that net benefit, does that $280,000, all of that goes back to ratepayers? Is that what we're saying?
With the exception of the $6,180 that we received in administrative costs,
Right.
yes.
Okay, all right, okay. So, yeah, because one of the things I was a little disappointed to see is that, you know, I can't really tell what the impacts are to our disadvantaged customers, you know, what we're really talking about. So maybe that's here and I just missed it. So, so then we go to the accounts receivable balances. And so in 2022, after application of the arrearages credits, which was how much?
Which was the $314,940.
Okay, all right, okay. So then the A and R balance, so we're just talking about our balance right there.
Right.
It was 840K. And then in 23, it stood at 992,640. So why did you include this information?
Great question. So I wanted you to know that before we went into the original arrearages program, our accounts receivable balance had crept up to about $1.1 million during the moratorium on water shutoffs. So we brought that down with that participation in the program. We brought that back down to 840,000 approximately.
Okay.
Since then, it has crept back up to 992,000 because that moratorium actually extended through December 2021, which was the time frame that was outside of the original arrearages program. So since 2022, when we received that original funding, we are at about $150,000 more in accounts receivable. However, I can also tell you that I looked at the accounts receivable aging today, and locked basic fees and liens comprise almost $300,000 of that 992,000. And liens are not guaranteed to be collected, but they are fairly secure to be collected. However, the time frame is unknown because there has to be a transfer in the property ownership in order for a lien to be enforced. Locked basic fees can generally be turned into liens at some point in time. So I see about 300,000 of that 992,000 as being more secure than just a regular receivable.
When you say more secure, more likely that we're going to get it?
To collect.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, so, yeah, okay, so, okay, so I see this regarding so what number of people, what number of our customers were impacted in the first arrearages program?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to say, I have to, you know what, let me, maybe
Okay.
look it up. But
Okay,
I think we had to split out the commercial, and because the commercial customers were eligible for this as well, which is, you know, a lot of the Airbnbs and that type of account. But I think that residential customers alone, sorry, let me see if I can make that. It's been a while now, so I apologize that I didn't.
oh, no, that's okay, that's all right. So,
But it wasn't based on income, right, Ann? It wasn't low income
No.
customers. It was just anybody that was behind in.
right, yeah, so this
Right.
isn't necessarily just for disadvantaged people, although it could be, right? We don't know what percentage. Well, while she's looking that up, this meter installation fee updates, these are the costs we pass along to ratepayers for installing meters. They have not been updated for several years due to time constraints. So that doesn't mean that we're gonna go back and get that money. We're just gonna say going forward.
Yeah, we just
Okay,
need
all
to
right,
change our
okay.
schedule for the future.
All right,
yeah.
okay. So then, I'm less concerned with this is just me as a board member. I remember when the asset management software was recommended to us. I'm less concerned about that being something that leaves us with continued vulnerability to nefarious activity, because I believe that the district has put into place a lot of security measures, et cetera, to monitor against that. Not that I'm saying that we don't need asset management software, but I'm less concerned about the risk from nefarious activities if that were delayed. I just want to say that. And, okay, so did you find out?
I did. So we had 478 residential accounts and 185 commercial.
Oh, okay. Right, okay, so, but this was done in response to COVID and what, right, I mean, that's where this started from, so, and we don't know, we don't have any idea, or do we know how many would be, you know, people have to apply for this, right? So we can't say how many.
No,
Oh,
you
okay,
don't
they don't have to apply,
We
okay,
Automatically credit it
Oh,
to
okay.
them. We just have to do all of this analysis.
okay.
To determine who would be
Right.
eligible for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, because I know that, yeah, I heard you say a couple things. So one is that we'd have to let them know not to pay their bills. So we can't let them continue to pay their bills and then we give them future credit or we pay them back or?
Yeah, what the advice that the state is providing is that we, well, we're required to let them know, we're required to post or inform in some way, newsletter or bill message that we're applying for this program and that there may be funds forthcoming, so that they're not paying down their arrearage balance, that arrear balance, and then become eligible for less later.
Oh, I see what you
Right, because we
mean.
end up having to
Oh,
send back some
okay.
funds from the original program because people are paying in on time.
Okay.
Even with the funding not being guaranteed.
Exactly, even though. the funding is
Yeah,
not guaranteed.
okay, yeah. Okay, so, so then, I'm trying to understand like, so with the fiscal impact, a potential net gain of up to 142K, that's what we're saying is that that's what we're estimating we might be able to provide to ratepayers?
That's the rough estimate, yes.
Right, okay.
Without going through all of those 800 accounts manually to determine exactly what that number is, yeah.
All right, so let me just double check to make sure. I'm just gonna, just because I think about this in terms of disadvantaged people, although I know there are people that, speaking of advantage, maybe took advantage of the situation. But the one thing I learned is the Santa Margarita Water District in Orange County, they have a $25 credit monthly for disadvantaged ratepayers. So I would be concerned about not doing this and people hearing about it and being frustrated about it. And one last question, did the cost of the administration that we got compensated for, while it seems a really low number, would that improve in the future if you worked on that cost allocation plan? Will that sort of thing be improved? No, oh, okay.
This is separate and this is capped at 3% of.
Oh,
the
anyway,
credits that
all
we would
right, okay.
receive. Yeah.
All right,
Total.
okay, that's all for me, thank you.
You're welcome. Director Fick?
There's a lot of give and take in this. On the resolution, you're saying the resolution of the board, and it looks like it's a mild resolution from you, or from my hearing from you.
I'm sorry, can you say that again, please?
It's a mild resolution.
A mild
resolved to-
resolution?
Yeah, in other words, there's setbacks in this, but overall, it's probably better to go ahead with this.
Well, I mean,
Just recommending we don't go ahead.
Yeah, I recommended that we do not move forward with this. However, it's certainly something that I was conflicted over. This resolution is actually just a copy, an updated copy of the resolution that we made for the first program. So it doesn't have any bearing. It's just available if the board should decide that we want to participate. Then we want to get this resolution in place and get started immediately because we're really running short on time.
Okay. Okay, I'll let the other directors.
Thank you very much. Director Charlesburg?
Yeah, I'm inclined to go along with what Director Roman is saying. I recall, I believe that we just got a little money for our trucks, our used trucks, that we didn't realize how much we're gonna get, and that there might be other opportunities where we could make up about $142,000 from other sources, that kind of surprise things that come along. And for the amount of work that this would take, it just doesn't seem like it's worth it. I was thinking that what we would do is let the ratepayers know that we researched it and found it was not worthy. Let them know that we really looked into it carefully. Obviously you have.
If we would want to address it.
I'm done.
Okay, Director Short?
Okay, so I didn't know much about what this was, so I had to go ahead and look it up on their website. And I found that entities can apply after the 60-day application period through January 31st, 2024. I'm just curious if that would change anything.
The funding is you basically are subject to whatever funding is left over after. They're going to allocate as of December 31st, the primary funding. And then, yes, they will still take applications, but I think your chances of being.
Yeah, it says, however, late applications are not guaranteed.
Yeah.
But it seemed like that was the case regardless. Oh, that's all I got.
Thank you. So in other words, you don't like it, you don't want to do it because it's too complex and the benefits that we would get from it are very minor. And also too, I Googled a bunch of this stuff too. And one of the things I saw right in the first paragraph was that this program is designed to protect and benefit water and wastewater providers, because for a long period of time, customers couldn't get out of their houses, or they couldn't go to work, or they weren't making as much money, or whatever it was. But so we were suffering as a water company because of that. So federal money went to the state and provided to us so that we wouldn't be negatively impacted, and then therefore financially, and therefore limit our ability to deliver water to people. So again, it's designed, this program was designed to help water companies, not specifically ratepayers or customers, although there is this peripheral benefit because their deficits or whatever money they owe us is being paid to the water company so that we can continue to provide service. Okay. So that to me is is one of the key things here. I was kind of curious too, as to, the district received net arrearage credits of $314,000. And so I was kind of curious as to, which eventually turned into 280 because of expenses and stuff like that. But how that was expressed in our financial reporting. I kind of look for it.
I didn't find it in here.
In different places and.
Yeah, it was in the, so it was in the 2022, so it was in last year's audit. And it would have been called, I think they called it a federal grant or a state grant, something like that. I couldn't tell you, I don't have a copy of it, but I don't know what page it's on, but it's in the grant revenues. It's represented in the grant revenues. So the net amount, however, the waiver for the penalties, that's just a reduction in our income. So that's reflected as a reduction in our income, not netted out of the grant funds or anything like that.
Another key part of this, David mentioned it, was, it's been a long night, huh? I think it was a part where we're dropping a lot of our leverage to get payment from our customers that are in arrears.
Right.
Shut-offs and what other penalties for shutting it off and turning it back on again and all that stuff. We got to waive all that kind of stuff. And then we don't have the reimbursement is doubtful.
Well, it's not guaranteed.
Questionable.
Yeah, that's not, say, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Our reimbursement is uncertain, shall we say. And that doesn't sound like anything that we would want to participate in to just.
Yeah, and
I think I finally cobbled it.
a good point there that comes to mind is that we have a lot of these customers on contracts already. If we were to move forward with this, we can no longer enforce those contracts by cutting off their water service. We would basically have to make new contracts with them. If for whatever reason, this credit did not satisfy what they owed us, we would have to enforce a new contract.
Some of this was during a time when we could not shut off water, that we were expending resources. We were putting product out there to somebody that wasn't paying for it. So we were taking a hit, hence the need for a program like this from this feds to the state to us to compensate for that kind of thing. I just think it's a dog that won't hunt myself. It's not worth the trouble.
I have a comment question. So if we did move forward with this and we canceled all those contracts and then we didn't get the funding, now all of those customers would have much larger balances that then they would then be responsible for, but with the promise that it would have been covered for by the arrearages, but then let down because the arrearages didn't come.
And we would have
Right.
told them that they didn't have to pay a lot longer.
Yeah,
That's
it could be a PR issue.
yes, it's very concerning. Just say you might get something, you let your balances build. Oh, we didn't get it, now you owe all this money. Just make sure I was clear on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have one question following up on that. So why would we have to do anything related to their accounts before we receive the grant?
Because the program requires that we let them know as soon as we apply. that we're applying for this funding and that they may not have to pay their arrear balance. That they may not have to pay what they owe us at, at that point. So, however, if the funding falls short, then, they're going to be happy to get that message. But if the funding falls short and then they ultimately have to pay their arrearage balance, they're not going to be happy to hear that.
That sounds different than what I was hearing. I thought I was hearing that we were saying that we had to cancel their contract. And I'm trying to say, why do we have to cancel their contract before we got the grant money?
We wouldn't have to cancel it necessarily before we got the grant money, but we can no longer cut them off, so we can enforce that contract. So currently, if they don't pay on their contract, we can cut them off after proper notice. If we decide to participate in this program, then we're required again to offer new contracts. And so then at that point, we would cancel their old contracts.
So, but the ratepayer, the customer would be incented to come in and sign a new contract because essentially they're getting more money to pay their outstanding bill, correct?
Perhaps, not knowing how much they're going to receive, that may not be the case, but I think the way that it would play out is that we would notify them that there might be funds forthcoming. They would stop paying, as the state is encouraging. And the contract would still be in place, but we could no longer enforce it. We would be prohibited from shutting off their water at that point, once we decide to participate. So they can just stop paying. If all of the funding that we receive is not enough to cover each customer's arrearages, then whatever balance remains is going to have to be set up on a new contract. We would be required to do that. So this is all resetting their time frame also ultimately for us being able to cut them off if they don't pay. So, it's kicking the can down the road to some extent in that sense, if we don't receive all the funding.
Okay, so I thought I was understanding you saying that the state requires that we alert them that we have applied for this program.
Yes.
Surely the state doesn't say, and at that point, they have to stop paying on
They
their
don't have to.
contract.
They don't have
So
to.
this is an assumption that they may do that would be a reaction. Oh, I'm gonna wait until they get this money, right?
There's actually language in the guidelines that says something to the effect of you're going to want to let customers know that they don't need to pay their bills at this point. I can find it.
No, I don't.
Recommend that even if they come in the door, we have to recommend that they do not pay us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Because it's just going to decrease their potential benefit.
Yeah,
So they want
right.
to maximize the
Right.
benefit that the customer is going to
Okay.
receive.
Yeah, all right, thank you. That's all from me.
I think it was said a couple of times that we would be paying the ratepayers. In my understanding is we will not. The money comes to the water district. So, and then we would debit or credit the ratepayers' accounts that we've identified.
Yeah, so the way that it would work is we would, once we calculate and analyze everything, we would fill out an application that states, with a list of each account that has arrearages that fall within that time frame, which is going to be difficult to determine because of the fact that we have so many on contracts. But once that goes up there to the state, they'll decide whether or not to approve it and decide if they have funding available. They'll send us a check for that full amount. And then we will we'll start applying that to the customer accounts. But if the customers have paid down their balances in the meantime, we can't give them a credit on their account. We have to send back that excess funding. So there's a second round of analysis that happens at that point. And so that additional funding would go back to the state and the customer would receive their their allotment at that point. There's also, there are a lot of requirements about informing customers. We've got to inform them what we've credited them through this program, including the first program. So we have to inform them not just what they received from this extended program, but what they received from the original program. And we have to refer them to other resources like LEWOP, which no longer has funding. And LEWOP is specifically mentioned in the language of the guidelines. But a lot of requirements there that we, then inform the customers what to do next, setting up a contract with us and a new contract with us, considering most of these are going to be on contracts already. That's basically how it would roll out.
I have a motion.
Well, let's ask Citizens Advisory Council Chair David Carrillo, do you have a comment?
Mike?
No.
I could hear better too.
You know what, it sounds like a source of contention to me, for our city, since we have a lot of underrepresented people. And maybe throughout many states too. I don't think doesn't sound good as far as me. In my personal opinion, seems like it can get ugly, has a good chance to get ugly rather than not at all.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. If it moves more, maybe I
Oh,
can catch it. Thank you.
Read a breeze. It sounds like to me, and kind of summarizing this, is that the fear is that our rate payers are going to hear, we turned down an opportunity to get some more money that would have benefit them. But I think if they hear about this and understand how much it impacts the other work we have to do, and that it doesn't really come out to a lot of money, that hopefully they will understand. I think it's a PR issue as much as anything.
Yes. For the few that hear about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just said a reaction to that would be that I'm very comfortable with the fact that this district will find any way possible to help our ratepayers, given the fact that we have that, and I believe it's in the Constitution, California Constitution, that we cannot spend certain monies on just to think of it, not to think of a better term, assistance or giveaway kinds of things. We can't do that. There's a small amount of money that we get from someplace that we're allowed to do the program that we do through United Way. But we do not turn a blind eye, because you even hear it on the board, we don't turn a blind eye to our customers that are struggling, because and also too, we don't want to spend money in such a way to where we have to raise a rate and then push more people out of the mainstream, so to speak, too, increase the number of people that need our help. Is there a motion on this? Hearing none.
I make a motion that we approve the recommendations of the district in our response to this opportunity.
Is there a
So we
second?
do not, we will not pursue this.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that. If that's what it is.
We have no motion on that, so I don't even think that's a denial, is it? Because we don't have a motion. Do we have to vote no?
I heard a motion to go with the recommendations to not go with.
Okay,
the
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so,
To roll call.
did we have a second on that? Okay. Roll call.
President Flowen,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle.
Yes.
Director Pick,
Aye.
Director Short,
No.
Director Drausberg.
This is a yes on a no.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Fine.
Reports and comments? Informational purposes only on subjects not covered on the agenda. No action will be taken. The board may provide staff with requests for future agenda items. Director reports is first with Vice President Doolittle.
Hello, everyone. I just attended the Aqua Fall Conference down below, as we say. And I just want to share, it was an excellent conference, but that, it really underscores that people in the state of California that are working in water really care about people and what's happening. There's a lot of commitment there. The first day I went to the Joint Powers Insurance Authority, which is our insurer. I'm an alternate for that group, and just thought I'd share that our PPOs are going to increase by 10%. I learned about two programs.
PPO?
Yeah, instead of an HMO, PPO, health insurance.
Preferred provider organization.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. And I learned about two different opportunities that we have through JPIA, and I would like to encourage the district to use them. One is KIND, and that is KYND, and that will test our infrastructure, our computer infrastructure from the outside. So it doesn't try to hack into it, but it tries to show the vulnerabilities of different servers, et cetera. So it's free, and I think that, we should avail ourselves of that data and that information. Not put all our eggs in one basket with our provider telling us, oh, it's safe, it's safe. Let's have somebody else look at it, especially if it's free. The other one I'd like to encourage the district to use is the employment hotline. Whenever there are any issues related to employment or whatever that's happening at the district, that's a free service, and that might also save us some money, even though someone's listening, with legal fees. I just want to share a couple things then at the rest of the Aqua Conference. There was some discussion about AB 1033, which is about accessory dwelling units. And one takeaway from that is things with ADUs are not going away. I wanted to share that Mission Springs Water District, which is in Desert Hot Springs, received $68 million for a new treatment plant. That is all state money. And anyway, that's pretty impressive. I'd like at some point for us to take a tour of it, but it was all grant money. There was a lot of discussion about a very scary proposal called the California Taxpayer Protection Act. And that would be retroactive to January 2022. And it seems, and it's going to be brought before the voters. And so there's a lot of complications with that. And I would just say, whether it passes or not, we need to build a record of how we arrived at what things cost to provide service, our documentation. Just regarding climate, one of the presentations I went to, we need to communicate how infrastructure projects impact climate resilience. Californians are very interested in that phrase. I'm trying to get through this quickly because I know we're tired. And then there was something about conveyance. Oh, yeah. I was just going to share that Santa Margarita Water District charges customers if the conveyance costs more to get the water to their house. We met at the expo, representatives from CLASS, CLASS, which is an alternative joint power funding organization. And I've been in communication with them, and I would like for one of their investment people to come present to us, her name's Crystal, about CLASS as an alternative or adjunct to our LAIF investments, because I think that we're leaving money on the table, but we need to take a look at it. And I've got some information on that. We can see 29 Palms is already invested. The California Special Districts Association, et cetera. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Very well. David Fick.
That's a lot. To add to it, I've been to several meetings that Vice President Doolittle has been to, including that one that Mojave Water Agency was having down and the CSPA situation. A Cindy Byram, who's a CPA and a consultant CPA to both, well, a number of water agencies. And she was able to convince us that the class system is quite worthy of trust and that we probably should investigate it because it's giving a interest percentage above 5% right now, whereas LAIF is somewhere in the 2%. So that's a gain of about $400,000 a year. So that might be something to be investigated at the beginning of next year. And, you know, as she said, it could be a parcel because Ann is so used to LAIF that we can stay with a good amount of LAIF, but a major portion can go towards the class system, which would be a large gain. And so, and
Guaranteed.
what?
It's not guaranteed. Principal is not guaranteed in that program, but
They told me it was.
They
so-
they said
did.
it was, yes.
Mhm.
We
Yeah,
had some
so-
changes. I had heard too, when you were there, but I don't know if you know this, but we work with Ide Bailey, who is Cindy Byram's firm, and we have a good relationship with Cindy, so we can, let's
Yeah,
invest into it.
it was highly recommended by her. So, and then she's also recommending viewing the budget system of 29 Palms because she's
The format, the format.
the format of it. So, yeah, and then of course, lots of the output stuff was there. I was mostly doing communications classes and presentations. And I probably, I don't know, I was probably at about a quarter of the ones you went to, but hardly. We didn't duplicate our efforts in that kind of situation. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Geraldsburg.
I also went down the hill for 4 days. As the appointed director for the JPIA representation, I was able to vote this time, which was very exciting because I got to push the button. But there are several things, and I'm intending to share in more detail directly to the general manager rather than take up time now. But a couple of major things I thought I'd mention is that JPIA has encouraged districts to use them for in-person training. They'll come to you.
We use
bring
them
their
on a
tra-
regular basis, and they'll
Good.
be here on the 14th.
Good. That's good to hear. Also, I wanted to mention the hotline idea. That's the employment hotline and was mentioned as a valuable resource to employees who want to speak about issues that they have without having, without having to go to the general manager, and they can call the hotline first and find out, what they should do. But a lot of people that I talked to at the meeting had no idea there was a hotline that the employees could go directly to. And
It's an employer hotline, not employee hotline.
employment, it's for members of
Which is the-
JPIA.
Which is the district. So we actually have used it on multiple occasions.
Good,
So
yeah.
it's for.
But a lot of people were saying they had no idea.
And the board can use it, but not employees.
Oh, not employees, okay, just the members
Yeah, it's for legal
It's
counsel.
related to employment
employment-related
though.
issues.
Yeah. Let's see, the attorney had quite a bit of information on that, so I'm glad to hear that you folks are aware. And there were a number of new laws mentioned, let's see. I think there's a new law regarding cannabis use for when you hire a new person, you're not supposed to ask them if they use it unless they do DOT or construction. I mean, there are definite reasons why, but that was kind of new information and it's fairly recent. It's SB 700, if anybody wants to research it. I attended at the ACWA meetings, the membership committee. Oh, that was JPIA, actually, membership. And they had some ideas for how to attract new, what they called new talent to the industry. And that's another thing I'd like to share, not tonight. And one of the things that was mentioned, and a lot of people that I was sitting with agreed, they didn't really like the word or the phrase ratepayer because it makes it, it puts a distance between you and your customers. And so that maybe we can think of other words to use, customers or even water users or, I don't know, our people. So that was just something that was kind of talked about quite a bit, actually. I did go to and I need to research more of this more. I went to a workshop that had to do with Prop 218, which is kind of an obscure thing that I'm trying to learn about, so. I was glad I was able to go, and I'm gonna research that more also. And I think these meetings are very worthwhile, however, the walking was difficult. And I think a lot of people agree with that. We had to walk although you could take a shuttle, but those shuttles were busy too, so. Anyway, it was beautiful weather and well attended, and they said something like 1,700 people attended the whole thing. It was a lot of, from all over, from as far north as, Inyo County, and, I got to know people from a variety of areas, so it was good. Okay.
Director Short.
Yes. I attended the ASBC SD dinner on November 17th at Ukaipa Water Agency, along with Director Fick. The topic was South Coast Water District's desalination plant. They're hoping to have this plant online by 2028. An estimate say it could provide 5 million gallons of water per day, making up 32% of their water portfolio by 2035. A few things I found interesting is how much more people were willing to pay to get the plant online. 78% of people polled said they were willing to pay $5 more, and 63% said they'd be willing to pay $15 more. Another thing I thought was interesting was how they used slanted wells to drill below the ocean floor to avoid any environmental consequences. I guess other agencies have tried this and ran into hurdles passing the environmental muster. It just kind of shows that there are alternatives to these projects, that people need to be more creative in solving issues.
What was the community?
Oh, it's in Orange County, South Coast Water District.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
My my attendance at meetings and stuff was kind of quiet this time, other than the market. Kathleen allowed me to leave for a little while this last week to go, and I heard on the radio they were you could dump off tires in Landers. The code enforcement for the county was doing a big deal up there where you can dump off tires.
Mhm.
There's a limit to 9 because other than that, you need a license to carry more than 9 tires in a truck. They're into everything. But anyway, it was very effective, very well done, and it's an excellent way to clean up the desert. I just wish it was done more than once a year. I also had the Jeep out recently, and I went up the road to tank David 11. It's the one on the side of the hill as you go north of the school, the elementary school, the new one. And I wanted a picture of the 2 tanks that are E21. The biggest one we have, it's like 5,600,000 and something thousand gallons, this thing, because that's one we're redoing and all that stuff, as I understand it. And I happened to encounter, when I was coming down after taking my pictures, I happened to encounter Kenny one of our employees who was in one of our pickup trucks heading up to David 11 Tank on a halfway decent road. And so I asked him, I told him what I was doing, obviously, and I asked him what he was doing, and he was going up there with a handheld device in a little vial with a purple, I think, chemical of some kind in it, and he was testing. He was going to test the chlorine level in that tank, and which, to me, I didn't know that we tested it at the tank. I know we tested it well.
Oh.
At least that's my
No, we tested
understanding.
the tank. I've done it before.
At the tank?
Yeah.
Oh,
When they took me on a tour.
oh,
I
okay.
got to do it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, and he's, he says there's certain parameters for how much chlorine is supposed to be in there. And so I asked him, well, what happens if you're either under or you're over? And he just kind of looked out the windshield of his truck and he says, that's never happened.
Ah,
It was always,
interesting.
and I just want to point out too, peripherally, that in our last audit, it was sort of a desire on the part of the auditors that there be more of informational exchange between regular employees of the water company and the board. And so I accomplished some of that, like hanging out with Kenny for a few minutes. But other than that, I have it is revealing, though, that there's certain complexities to to running a water company that aren't readily visible to the average rate payer.
Mm,
I'm proud of that. I'm not offended by that.
okay,
I'm a rate payer times 3, and I'm glad to be.
no, that's,
Pages. General Manager's report.
All right, I will keep this brief because I know we've had a long night. I also attended Aqua last week along with Executive Assistant Thompson and Director of Ops Nazario. I think we learned a lot. We thought the content was a little light this time. Hopefully next time it'll have a little bit more relevant content to Southern California water issues. A lot of it was focused on Central California, which does ultimately affect us, but it'd be nice to have a little bit more focus when they're south in the south. Most of my report tonight was already covered in the project list, which was interesting, so I don't have to repeat those items. Just a reminder, WRO is canceled next week due to a conflicting meeting. The next board meeting, we will celebrate our 60th anniversary. And a reminder, it's not on the agenda for President Flowen. The Morongo Basin Pipeline Commission meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday, 2 o'clock out at Bighorn Water District. That is the end of my report.
Next what day?
Wednesday.
Yeah, I looked for that on MWA's website. I didn't see anything, so I was confused.
Yeah, they had some confusion because it was scheduled here, but we swapped with Marina, her request earlier this year, and we had it here, and now it's going to be there. So I think that's probably where the confusion lies.
10-4. Is that all?
That is it.
Thank you. 8:03. Okay, item number 11 is a closed session. It's a conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. We're empowered to do this in closed session by code section 54956.9D1 regarding aqueous film forming foams.
I would just reference the agenda.
Well, yeah, I'm going to skip the part about reading the court docket number.
Thanks.
It is in the agenda, though, if anybody wants to read it. Let's see, so, okay, so we're doing that at 8:03, and we will come back into session, and we'll, probably Jeff will report out, and then we're going to adjourn. That's all we're going to do when we come back.
Jeff, would you mind doing a breakout room for us, and I'll go.
Yes,
Computer, thank you.
absolutely. And so you're just going to stay in that, are you going to go on your computer? Okay.
Secret place.
So,
oh, yes.
It's my time to cover it. If you're gonna go, I want to ride with you. If not, I'll just do it virtually.
Sarah, do you want to
Or maybe I'll drive myself.
Your time.
report? Close out that. And then close out the comments, Lisa.
Yes. Usually in bed by this, time. These long meetings, no good. No good.
It used to start at 6:30, so at least there's that.
David looks like how I feel. What are you getting up at 4 to go work out or something, I'm sure.
He does look a little tired
He
today, doesn't
does, he
I
does.
noticed that. We're back in session. The board is back in session at
Recording.
8:38. Are we recording again?
Yeah.
That was affirmative.
Mhm.
General Counsel Hoskinson, report out, please.
Yes, absolutely. The board met in closed session on item 11 as agendized. I will not attempt to say the name of the case. I could say the second one, City of Camden versus 3M Company, but otherwise as agendized, and took no reportable action.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
A really long meeting.
Motion carried. Didn't you get
Yeah,
your
and
third-
I would
third win?
prefer interim, like a shorter board meeting, a third one, instead of beating everybody up like this, you guys. Does anybody else agree?
It is what it is, that we,
It's kinda
you know,
streamlined.
we have to do it. We have to do it.
I don't know.